Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Marty Richards once again with Richland Center Tourism and our Sunday evening version of Why Do We Call It That? Today, we got two things to do. Number one, we've got to straighten out some questions that I had asked previously where you had to make the call on a meaning or how something got its name or what was happening, and it take you back to St. Killian's Church and Cemetery and why the headstones were facing different directions. There was a group of them that aligned north-south, and then there was another group that aligned east-west. Several people did know the legend on that, or the history of it, and that is that there was a little bit of disagreement, actually, between different residents of that cemetery. And what happens, as the county has been settled, different immigrants went to different areas of the county. And in Bear Valley, it was a little bit interesting in that that is kind of where the Germans and the Irish met as far as their different settlements. And so at St. Killian's, when it was built and the cemetery started, there were Germans and there were Irish that attended that church. There was a little bit of a disagreement in which direction people should face, and for a time, only the Irish were buried facing one direction, east-west, and there was one person that added in that the Irish did want to be facing east back towards their homeland. I don't know if that's true or not. They do indeed, that group does indeed actually face mostly east and west. But then the Germans were buried facing another direction. If you do go and take a look at it, it does appear that that practice did go away probably in the late 70s, early 80s, and now you see it doesn't tend to matter what your original nationality is. You could be buried in either side of that cemetery. So that takes us to today. We're in Wheat Hollow. So in Wheat Hollow, this play of where immigrants came from and originally settled our areas of Richland County kind of kicks up again. So the Lloyd area along Highway 58 up to Ithaca, that area was primarily settled by the English, and the names of the towns reflect that a little bit, and that's for another version. But when we look at Wheat Hollow, some folks that have done some historical study of our county might think, hey, wait a minute, I would wager that it got its name because it was a very healthy and abundant wheat area that produced a lot of wheat. Because, little known fact, in Richland County and in the state of Wisconsin back in the early 1900s was called the Midwest breadbasket because there was a lot of wheat produced in Wisconsin, and that was true. It wasn't dairy. Actually, dairy was a small player early on at that time, but that was true until the boll weevil came and there was a blight and there was over farming because we didn't understand rotational practices at that time, and the wheat actually started to die off and they couldn't raise wheat anymore. And then in the mid 1920s, in the teens, we started to grow as a dairy producing county in our area, and really we were known for that for probably a good 80 years, and now we're really more shifting to corn and soybeans. But back to Wheat Hollow. Okay, so Wheat Hollow did not get its name because of wheat production. It actually got its name from a direct descendant from England that settled here by the name of preserved wheat. Not kidding. Go ahead and look it up. Margaret Helen Scott agrees, and then also several other resources that I've looked through very flatly and plainly say that a fellow by the name of preserved wheat came and settled in this area. It was the area of Lloyd, Wheat Hollow, Highway 58 up to Ithaca was actually settled a little bit after some of the other areas. So it was later in the 1850s, 1855 to 1856. But a fellow by the name of Preserved Wheat came, homesteaded here. He did start a little farm. I believe he did raise wheat, so that was okay. But that is how Wheat Hollow got its name. So that's our version of Sunday night's Why Do We Call It That? We look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday and back again on Friday. But now you know why they call it Wheat Hollow. Thank you for joining us. Have a great afternoon.